Top 25 React.js Interview Questions and Answers. In this video, we will explore the top 25 React.js interview questions and their corresponding answers. This resource is designed to help you prepare effectively for your upcoming interviews in the rapidly evolving world of web development. Whether you are a beginner or an experienced developer, these questions will cover fundamental concepts, advanced topics, and best practices. Our goal is to equip you with the knowledge needed to excel in your React.js interviews. 1. What is React.js? React.js is a JavaScript library used for building user interfaces, particularly for single-page applications. It allows developers to create large web applications that can change data without reloading the page. React follows a component-based architecture, which means the user interface is built using reusable components. This approach enhances code maintainability and reusability. React uses a virtual DOM, which improves performance by minimizing direct manipulations of the real DOM. It is managed by Facebook and has a strong community support, making it a popular choice among developers. 2. What are the key features of React? React offers several key features that make it a popular choice for building user interfaces. One of the most significant features is its component-based architecture, allowing developers to build reusable UI components that manage their own state. React uses a virtual DOM, which improves performance by minimizing direct manipulation of the actual DOM. Another important feature is JSX, a syntax extension that combines HTML with JavaScript, making it easier to write and understand UI components. Additionally, React supports one-way data binding, which enhances the predictability of data flow in applications. 3. What is JSX? JSX stands for JavaScript XML. It is a syntax extension for JavaScript, primarily used with React to describe what the UI should look like. JSX allows developers to write HTML-like syntax directly within JavaScript code. This makes it easier to create React elements and components, as it provides a more intuitive way to structure the UI. Under the hood, JSX gets transformed by Babel into JavaScript function calls, which render the elements on the page. One key benefit of JSX is that it enables developers to write HTML and JavaScript together, enhancing readability and maintainability of the code. 4. What is the virtual DOM? The virtual DOM is a lightweight representation of the actual document object model, DOM, in web applications. React utilizes this concept to enhance performance and efficiency. When changes occur in a React application, instead of directly manipulating the real DOM, React first updates the virtual DOM. It then compares the updated virtual DOM with the previous version using a process called reconciliation. By identifying only the differences, React efficiently updates the real DOM, minimizing costly operations and improving the app's responsiveness. This approach leads to a smoother user experience and faster rendering times. 5. What are components in React? Components are reusable building blocks of a React application. They allow developers to split the UI into independent, encapsulated pieces that can be managed separately. Each component can maintain its own state, render UI based on props, and handle user interactions. There are two main types of components: functional components and class components. Functional components are simpler and are primarily used for presentational purposes, while class components are more complex and can manage their own state and lifecycle methods. This modular approach promotes code reusability and easier maintenance. 6. What is the difference between a functional component and a class component in React? Functional components are simpler, defined as JavaScript functions that return JSX. They can utilize hooks to manage state and lifecycle events. Class components, on the other hand, are ES6 classes that extend React component and require a render method to display UI. They have access to lifecycle methods directly, allowing for more complex behavior. Functional components are generally preferred for their readability and ease of use, especially since the introduction of hooks, which enable similar capabilities as class components without needing to manage this binding. 7. What are React hooks? React hooks are functions that allow you to use state and other React features without writing a class. They were introduced in React 16.8 to enable functional components to manage state and side effects. The most common hooks include useState, which lets you add state to functional components, and useEffect, which manages side effects like data fetching or subscriptions. 8. What is useState in React? The useState hook is a fundamental feature in React that allows functional components to manage state. It enables developers to add state variables to their components without needing to convert them into class components. When you invoke useState, it returns an array containing two elements, the current state value and a function to update that value. By calling the update function, the component re-renders with the new state. This hook is essential for handling dynamic data, such as user inputs or fetching API responses, making it easier to create interactive user interfaces. 9. What are custom hooks? Custom hooks are a feature in React that allow developers to extract logic from components and reuse it across different parts of an application. They are JavaScript functions whose names start with use and can call other hooks within them. Custom hooks help in managing stateful logic and side effects, enabling cleaner, more maintainable code. By encapsulating reusable logic, they promote code reusability and improve component modularity. Developers can create custom hooks for a variety of purposes, such as fetching data, managing forms, or handling local storage access, tailoring them to their specific needs. 10. What is the difference between props and state? Props are used for passing data from one component to another, while state is local to a component and used to manage its own data. Props are immutable, meaning they cannot be changed by the component receiving them, which helps maintain a unidirectional data flow. State, on the other hand, is mutable and can be updated within a component, triggering re-renders. This distinction is crucial for managing data in React applications, as it allows for clear separation of concerns between parent and child components. Understanding this difference is key for efficiently structuring React apps. 11. Can you explain the lifecycle methods of a React component? React components go through several phases during their lifecycle: mounting, updating, and unmounting. Mounting. This phase includes methods like constructor, get derived state from props, render, and component didMount. In mounting, the component is created and inserted into the DOM. Updating occurs when there are changes in state or props. Key methods here include get derived state from props, should component update, render, and component did update. These methods manage how the component responds to updates and re-renders. Unmounting. The component will unmount method is called right before a component is removed from the DOM. It is used for cleanup tasks, such as canceling network requests or removing subscriptions. 12. How do you manage state in React applications? State management in React applications can be achieved using various approaches. The most common method is by using the built-in state hook, useState, which allows you to add state variables to functional components. For more complex state management, you can use the useReducer hook, which is suitable for applications with more intricate state logic. Additionally, Context API can be employed to share state between components without prop drilling. For larger applications, libraries such as Redux or Mobex are popular choices, providing a centralized state store with efficient updates and middleware support. Each approach has its use cases, depending on the application's complexity and requirements. 13. What is the purpose of keys in React lists? Keys are crucial in React lists for efficient rendering. They help React identify which items have changed, been added, or removed. By assigning a unique key to each list item, React can optimize re-renders, improving performance. When a list is updated, React uses the keys to determine which elements to keep and which to discard, thus minimizing unnecessary DOM manipulations. Using keys ensures that the component state is preserved correctly across renders, especially important for maintaining user interactions, such as input values in forms. Always ensure keys are stable, unique, and consistent. 14. How do you optimize the performance of a React app? Optimizing performance in a React app involves several strategies. First, use the React memo function to memoize functional components, preventing unnecessary re-renders. Implement should component update or React pure component for class components to limit updates. Use the use callback and use memo hooks to memoize functions and values, respectively. Code splitting with React lazy and suspense can reduce the initial load time. Avoid using inline functions and objects in render methods. Finally, analyze performance using the React DevTools profiler to identify bottlenecks and optimize rendering behavior effectively. 15. Can you explain the concept of higher-order components, HOCs? A higher-order component, HOC, is a design pattern in React that allows you to enhance or modify the behavior of a component. Essentially, a HOC is a function that takes a component as an argument and returns a new component with additional properties or functionality. This pattern is often used for cross-cutting concerns like logging, access control, or handling subscriptions. HOCs help promote code reuse and separation of concerns, enabling you to compose components without modifying their internal logic. Examples include with router from React Router or connect from Redux. 16. How do you handle side effects in React apps? In React, side effects are handled primarily using the useEffect hook. This hook allows you to perform operations such as data fetching, subscriptions, or manually changing the DOM after React has updated the component. You can specify dependencies for the effect, so it only runs when those dependencies change. For example, you might fetch data only when a component mounts or when a specific prop changes. Additionally, you can return a cleanup function from useEffect to clean up resources or subscriptions when the component unmounts or before the effect runs again. This helps maintain performance and prevents memory leaks. 17. What is the Context API and when would you use it? The Context API is a powerful feature in React that allows for the sharing of data across the component tree without having to pass props down manually at every level. It is useful for managing global states such as user authentication, theme settings, or language preferences. By creating a context, you can provide data at a higher level in the component hierarchy and enable any descendant component to access that data. This simplifies state management and reduces prop drilling, making the code easier to read and maintain. Context API is ideal when multiple components need access to the same data. 18. How do you handle forms and form validation in React? Handling forms in React involves using controlled components, where form data is managed by the component's state. Each input field's value is tied to a state variable, allowing for real-time updates as the user types. To handle form submissions, you typically define an onSubmit event handler, which can validate the input before processing it. For validation, libraries like Formic or Yup can simplify the process, ensuring fields meet specific criteria. Styling error messages in visual cues enhance user experience, guiding users to correct any mistakes effectively. 19. What is reconciliation in React? Reconciliation in React refers to the process by which React updates the user interface when the state or props of a component change. During this process, React compares the new virtual DOM with the previous one, identifying changes that need to be made. This efficient diffing algorithm minimizes the number of direct manipulations of the real DOM, which are performance intensive. By following this approach, React ensures that only the necessary components are re-rendered, leading to faster updates and a more responsive user experience. 20. What are error boundaries in React? Error boundaries are special components in React that help catch JavaScript errors in the component tree. They allow developers to handle errors gracefully without crashing the entire application. An error boundary can be created by defining a class component that implements either static get-derived state from error or component did-catch lifecycle methods. When an error is thrown in a child component, the nearest error boundary will catch it, enabling developers to display a fallback UI or log the error for further investigation. This approach enhances user experience by preventing the app from breaking entirely due to runtime errors. 21. How do you handle routing in a React application? In a React application, routing is typically handled using the React Router DOM library. This library allows developers to define routes for different components, enabling navigation between them without full page reloads. To set up routing, you wrap your app in a less-than-browser router greater than component and define routes using the less-than-route greater than component. Each route specifies a path and the component that should render when that path is matched. The less-than-link greater than component is used for navigation, ensuring user interactions are smooth. For more complex scenarios, nested routes and route parameters can also be implemented to handle dynamic content effectively. 22. Can you explain code splitting and its benefits? Code splitting is a technique used in React applications to optimize the loading time by breaking down the application bundle into smaller, manageable chunks. Instead of loading the entire app at once, code splitting allows you to load only the necessary parts when they are required. This is typically achieved using dynamic imports or libraries such as React, Lazy and React, Suspense. The benefits include improved performance, faster initial load times, and enhanced user experience, particularly in larger applications. It reduces the amount of JavaScript that needs to be parsed and executed initially, leading to quicker render times and better responsiveness. 23. What are React fragments? React fragments are a feature that allows you to group a list of children without adding extra nodes to the DOM. They help in organizing code by enabling multiple elements to be returned from a component without wrapping them in a div or another element. This can improve performance by reducing the number of DOM elements created. Fragments can be declared using or the short syntax less than greater than. They are particularly useful when you want to return multiple elements from a render method while keeping the DOM clean and avoiding unnecessary markup. 24. What is lifting state up in React? Lifting state up refers to the technique of moving state from child components to a common parent component. This approach is useful when multiple child components need access to the same state or need to share data. By lifting state up, the parent component manages the state and passes it down as props to its children. This ensures that the UI remains synchronized with the state. It helps in simplifying the data flow in the application, making it easier to understand and maintain the component hierarchy. This pattern encourages keeping related state together, enhancing the readability of the code. 25. How do you ensure accessibility in React applications? Ensuring accessibility in React applications involves several practices. First, use semantic HTML elements because they provide inherent accessibility benefits. Implement ARIA, Accessible Rich Internet Applications, attributes to enhance screen reader support. Utilize keyboard navigation and ensure all interactive elements are focusable. Additionally, conduct regular accessibility testing with tools like Axe or Lighthouse to identify issues. Employ color contrast checkers to ensure text is readable against backgrounds. Finally, provide alternative text for images and ensure forms have associated labels for clarity. Regularly incorporating these practices fosters inclusivity for all users. As we wrap up our exploration of the top 25 React.js interview questions and answers, it's clear that mastering these topics can significantly enhance your chances of success in interviews. Understanding React's core concepts not only prepares you for potential questions but also strengthens your development skills. We hope you found this information valuable and feel more confident in your knowledge of React. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content that will help you in your tech journey. Thank you for watching.